Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog. We're live for those viewers that are watching on Inforum TV. We're always live, though, on the Bison Media Blog. Along with Jeff Kolpak, I'm Dom Izzo. As the spring sports season comes to a conclusion for North Dakota State, Jeffrey, the Bison softball team, we've gotten used to the fact that we're preparing for an NCAA tournament run for NDSU, but for the first time in 5 years, NDSU is not into the NCAA tournament, eliminated by Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne, as the Mastodons win the Summit League Championship here in Fargo.
Well, I think some people took it as a foregone conclusion just because they were at home, they would easily advance to the NCAA. But I would counter that they really haven't been at home. They've been at home for, what, 3 games at LA. They had 3 at the Fargo Dome. And I think the coaching staff appropriately took it as a road game. They actually gave them itineraries and tried to make it as a road game. You know, athletes love routine. They love routine, and coaches like it when your athletes are in routine. Gives you a sense of normalcy. But that's just not the case this year. And I think they're just too young. We're looking at Fort Wayne here. They made the plays in the last 2 innings. And anytime you make the plays in the last 2 innings, we said this on your radio show last night, or make the plays in the fourth quarter of a football game or in the basketball, you last 3 minutes. If you own that final minute, that final stages of the game, you deserve to go on.
And we've gotten to the expectations that NDSU would win it every year. That's unrealistic. I mean, to win it 2 times, 3 times, let alone 4, is off the charts. So eventually it was going to happen. We saw it a few years ago with volleyball that the Bison finally got knocked off, and it happened here. You mentioned only one senior. This team will be back. They host it again next year since they won the regular season championship, and I think Darren Mueller's team will be back contending for a title again.
Right, and we love that rule in the Summit where if you win it the previous year, you host it the next year. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Amazing fact, Darren Mueller has been at NDSU for 19 years. And this is the first time that he thinks, and we tried to look it up and didn't find evidence to the contrary. First time in 19 years he's lost a conference title game.
Wow.
Head or assistant.
That's a great nerd
It's going to
stat.
happen, right, sometime.
Well, eventually you get knocked off the pedestal
Even
there.
Oswego State loses once in a while.
Well, we do, eventually.
Yeah.
You know, we're pretty good, though, at most things, except football. We don't have football. But IPFW goes to the NCAA tournament. They get Louisville, though, in the NCAAs in the same bracket with UCLA. So good luck to the Mastodons with that. The NCAA Women's Golf Regional wrapped up over the weekend. NDSU in its first trip there finishes at a tie for 24th. Surprisingly, though, Amy Anderson did not advance to the next stage of the NCAA final. So her collegiate career is over, and that means the next step, which is obviously the U.S. Open, which comes up at the end of June. She'll attempt to qualify in a familiar spot. You're looking at it. That's the Broadmoor. It's a different course. The East is where the U.S. Open was played, where she led after, of course, 2011 after the first round. And now she'll play the West course here to try and qualify in 2013.
Well, time for the next stage in Miss Anderson's career. And I know this is something we've all been preparing for a couple of years now. Ever since she actually was tied for the lead of the U.S. Open, you're thinking, okay, at what stage and what's it going to be like when she has time to do this full time?
Right.
She's going to move to Florida, and she's going to do some base of operations out of there to attempt to improve her game. I think she's got a lot of parts of her game that can get to the next level. I think she hits it far enough. Everybody I've talked to says she can hit it far enough. But you got to knock down the putts, and you got to hit the iron shots, and you got to do it just a little more consistent. Now, can she do it? I think she can. I think she's got the mentality. She's got the faith-based poise, I think, that she relies on. And now it's a whole new venture. She's grown up in Oxbow. She's played in Fargo. Time to go to Florida. Time for a new stage of her life.
Tell me what she needs to work on the most to make that next step, where she's been a terrific collegiate player, now to be a good pro.
Well, everybody hits it pretty far.
Yeah.
Everybody can hit the irons, but it's the short game. It's the up and downs from off the green.
Yeah.
It's the putting. It's getting in position for birdies. And the thing that separates pro golfers from the wannabe pro golfers is you got to be able to go deep. And by that, I mean you need to go to a 62 or 63 every once in a while in a tournament rather than a 69 or 70. If you show the ability to knock off an 8-under, 9-under round, that shows me, and that shows people who follow golf that you may have the ability to do something.
You know, she already shocked the nation basically when she won the U.S. Junior Am in 2009 from North Dakota. I remember all the the overflow of attention that came from that, coming from Fargo and to win that, then obviously leading the U.S. Open after the first day in 2011. I think she's already played in the worst conditions possible. She also went and played in Scotland, as we remember, last summer in the U.S. Amateur over there. So she's dealt with the win. I don't think there's anything condition-wise she's not already prepared for to see at the next level.
I don't think she's going to miss a sports bubble so much in the winter. That facility, it does a lot of good for us living up here. We take it. We like it. But I say practicing in Florida outdoors when you have real grass to chip off of, I think we'll see. I'm curious to see what the next stage of her game is.
The May 29th is the qualifier that Amy will go at in Colorado Springs. The U.S. Open starts June 27th in Long Island, one of the courses in Southampton near Shinnecock, where the U.S. Open was held just a couple of years ago.
You're a good golf mind.
I know it. I got that. Well, it's in New York. I got to know that.
You should do my show.
Well, I can fill in if you need me to. You were mentioning grass. Now it's not artificial turf, as we segue to the story you ran yesterday about the renovation going on at Dakota Field. We already know the sprint turf is down, but now, Jeff, they're going to renovate the bleachers there because the NDSU soccer team is going to move its home games from the LA Sports Complex now over to Dakota Field. Tell me a little bit about what's going on there.
Well, I think the addition of the AstroTurf from the Fargo Dome that's going in the middle of the 3 practice fields gives the football program some flexibility, and it allows maybe some more time for the soccer team to get there. Soccer plays at LA Sports Complex in a field that by NCAA standards is too small.
I didn't know that.
It's too small. They got grandfathered in, so they're able to play there. But it's too small. This gives, hey, it's Division I program, right? You better have some Division I standards. And I think it's a good move by the university. I'm thinking it's okay with the football program, right? I don't think they would allow it otherwise.
Right, correct. I think they got the sign off there from the football team. And you mentioned in your story, most of the home games that the soccer team plays are on Fridays and Sundays, and normally football is pretty occupied on those couple of days as well. I'm curious to see the kind of crowd that comes out. Granted, it's not, I mean, where they normally play is behind Newman. It's not secluded, but it's not easy to see. I'm curious to see what kind of they get there.
Newman is a track and field complex by nature. I mean, let's call it like it is. It is not a soccer complex.
No.
The stands are a little ways away. You have to go through the track. You got that sideline. With Dakota Field, you're a little more up close and with the soccer game. So I think that could have a factor. It'll be seating for 1,000. That probably is plenty for that program.
I'm curious to see what kind of crowds come out. We've seen, the sparse crowds that sit in the far side of the bleachers for scrimmages for the Bison football team, but now to have the complete renovation. And I've stood in those stands when I'm up there shooting highlights for football, and it's not really fit for man nor beast right now.
Last time these stands were used were for Bison football back in the day, and that's where the big boosters sat, right in that area. So I'm wondering if they go back to tradition and get the bottle of schnapps out and whatever those guys used to do there.
Well, soccer's played on a Friday. Tend to relax before the weekend here. Now, we started last week we're doing this live, just sending our live Twitter questions for everyone that's watching the blog and obviously that follows along at FGO Sports Writer and Dom Izzo WDAY. Justin sent in to ask us, I'd like to hear an update on the football schedule. Everybody does. I know it's a priority for Taylor and the fans, of course, are referencing Gene Taylor there. Last we heard, I spoke with Gene, you did as well. It's getting dire here. As we tape this, it's May 14th. 3 years ago when they got Morgan State, that was May 28th when they filled out the schedule. I firmly believe, Jeff, they're going to play a Division II game on September the 7th or the 14th as a home game and then go get an FCS road game on that November 2nd date to play 12 this season.
Well, that's probably a good guess, and that's a question I've been asking the AD. He's obviously very tired of us asking, but, that's what we do.
Gotta.
That's probably a pretty good theory. I've heard some Division II possibilities out there, no names, but somebody in the East, or who knows. I mean,
who would you like to see if it was a Division II?
Well, defending champ, Valdosta State.
Valdosta would be great. I think Pittsburgh State would be great. I don't know their schedules. Unfortunately for our viewers out there, I don't memorize the D2 schedule, but from the old days, the Gorillas would be great.
And maybe we can bring Rocky Hager and Chuck Broyles back as honorary ball boys or something.
He's busy though. Rocky is with Bryant. Levi sends a question: is when talking about jumping up to BCS, I'm assuming he means FBS. Why do people continually omit the academic requirements SU does not meet?
This one's a little puzzler for me. I'm not really sure what the writer means by this. NDSU is a top 100 research institution, and a land-grant university. So I need to see, write us back and tell us what you mean.
Well, I don't think he means Title IX, but there is some requirements. Obviously, they're going to have to fit that if they decide to move up to FBS, because obviously the scholarship requirements for FBS football jumps from 63 to 85.
It's generally believed that if they do go FBS, that they'll have to add 1 or 2 sports. What that would be, I don't know. Equestrian, tennis, who knows?
Would they drop any in your consideration if they were to do that?
I don't think. Well, it's always on the table.
Everything's
Baseball's
on the table,
been dropped at other sports, but you got Newman Outdoor Field. I just don't see that happening.
Late one here from our friend Tom Miller at the Grand Forks Herald. How long before one of you have a Burt Blyleven moment with all this live business?
Oh man.
Come on now. We're professionals.
Yeah, we first of all, we don't have the telestrator to draw stuff. So, and if I were, I'd probably draw the devil eyes on you or something like that. Actually, I did get one.
What do you got here?
It's actually addressed to you from Craig B. in Fargo.
Yes.
Should the girl get a ring?
Referencing your story the other day.
Girl, yes.
Well, that's interesting. And I think you and I talked about it over the weekend. I think you have to draw a line in the sand somewhere. I think obviously the team, coaches, administration, people that set up the travel and stuff like that. Absolutely. But I don't know about team managers. I don't know about laundry assistants or broadcasters.
I think you got to draw it somewhere, right? And whether that line is on this side or this side of the laundry girl, it's debatable. I did the story. It's 2 sides. Interesting question, And
not everybody gets their name on the Stanley Cup. You look how big that is, and that's where the team obviously gets it. You have to play a certain amount of games in the postseason to get your name on the Stanley Cup. I think that's kind of the bar that has to be set somewhere here.
And make a case, anybody outside of a player, do you deserve one? I think it's a good question. It's a privilege if you're not a player.
One other thing, for Olympic medals, for like hockey, and only the players get it. Coaches don't get a medal there. So they draw the line there, and that's even more restrictive.
Well, and we won the National Video Blog Award contest. I didn't get a ring. Did you get a ring?
No, I don't even have the marker that you have.
Yeah.
That's locked away for 2013.
You're never going to get that, baby.
I'm probably going to get that. We got a busy weekend with the Fargo Marathon coming up. That means our Bison coverage will not drop at all. NDSU hosts South Dakota State today in baseball. The last 6 home games for the baseball team, they've got to get it going. They've lost 7 in a row. They're not in any danger of missing the tournament unless they lose to Fort Wayne, obviously because Omaha is ineligible for the tournament. So that only means of the 5 teams eligible, 4 will go. NDSU's in that, but they're in struggles right now.
Yeah, and they need to start winning. They're a young team, and they're not getting they had such a veteran team last year with some great seniors.
We've got a busy weekend, though, covering the Fargo Marathon. Jeffrey and I will be out with a pace truck on that.
Yes.
That should be fun coming up on Saturday. And we'll be back next week to take more of your questions as the spring season wraps up. That's the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.